Welcome to the GuthrieAmerica podcast. We sit down with amazing people who do life in our community and those who are from here. We believe that every story should be told. I'm your host, Eddie Coleman. Today, I am sitting down with Ruston Burst. Before we jump into this conversation with Ruston, would you please go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube? Also, follow us on all the social media platforms. I would deeply appreciate that. Ruston, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing excellent, Greg. How you doing, sir?
Man, I am doing really, really good. So for those of you who don't know me by Greg, that's my real name. Most people probably call me Hetty now, but Ruston and I go way back. You always know who's from Guthrie, typically, because they're going to call me Greg. People who are not from Guthrie normally call me Hetty, and some call me both. So, yeah, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. How was your holidays?
They're wonderful. They're wonderful. My niece is having a birthday party celebration later on, and so after this, I'm going to go over there. So it's just, we have a lot going on, and my birthday's in November 27th. So with Thanksgiving, my son's is the 18th, my middle son, mine's the 27th, and then all kinds of just, everything going on under the sun. Let me turn this off real quick.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you all are busy on birthdays, and then on just regular holidays. Probably keeps you all really, really busy. Rusty, man, I was thinking about this. How did you end up? When did you come to Guthrie? Because were you born were you here when you were born, or did you come from somewhere?
I was born in Muskogee. I have two. I have the my ancestral roots or whatever. My lineage. We came to Oklahoma. And they came to Oklahoma in 1891. I can tell you that story, or I can tell you when my dad came back to Oklahoma, because he went away. He was a roughneck. Then he went to the military, the Air Force, and he went all around. He went to Alaska, Arizona, California, all over the Azores. And he came back, and he met my mom. He went to, just long story short on this one, they ended up in Muskogee. He went to Tulsa. He was going to law school. They ended up in Muskogee. And being that he was already from Guthrie, his parents and all his aunts and uncles lived in Guthrie, he was wanting to get back. And so after he got his law degree, he was waiting for the perfect opportunity to come back. And my great aunts, I don't remember the lady's name, but my great aunts, meaning Emma Burst, had a friend who was relative to her age, that was getting ready to retire in 1973 or 74. And in order for my dad to come back, he was looking for a space, an attorney spot in Guthrie. And Bill Wheeler, a lot of people know him, he's a judge, held a spot as that attorney, and he was waiting to become a judge. So with a little nudge from my great aunts, they talked to their friend who was a judge, like I said, I can't remember her name, who's getting ready to retire. And so she said, well, if my dad went by Dick, it's Richard Burst, said, well, Dick wants to come back to Guthrie, then I'm going to hurry this up, and I'm going to retire as soon as possible. So she retired, and Bill Wheeler moved to judge. My dad came into town as a city attorney, I guess, and 1974, and that's how we came back. And I was born, like I said, I was born in Muskogee because my dad was close to. We lived in Tulsa for a time in Muskogee. Graduated from Tulsa, then we made our way back eventually in '74.
Nice. Okay. And then what year did you leave? And we'll kind of bounce around. But what year did you end up leaving Guthrie?
I left in '90. I was going. It was summer, July of '90. We're headed into our junior year because we're same classmates, and we left in '90. Went to South Padre Island, Port Isabel, Texas, and that's where I graduated in '92. But for 15 years, I was in Guthrie, and so that's where it all happened for me. The ridiculousness.
The ridiculousness of what it was.
Yeah. I got all the stories in my head, I'm sure you do too. All the good times.
That is funny. All right, before we jump into some of those stories, for those people who don't know you, never seen you before, anything like that, kind of help us understand who Ruston is. How would your family describe you? Like, if we were to sit down with some of your family, it's like, describe who Ruston is to us, how would they describe you?
The many facets of Ruston. It depends if I'm, sometimes I'm a little revved up a little bit, and trying to get things done. Sometimes I can be a little loud, Other times I kind of get lost in my own little zone, my work zone, trying to get stuff done constantly, I'm always busy. I'm always busy. I guess I have adult attention deficit disorders because I sit down and start this, then I go over here and do that, and then I eventually make my way back around to what I was doing. So they'll definitely say that. Like I said, I got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah.
So
Now,
more cattle to brand.
Now, from me knowing a little bit about you, do you think that's just from the creative side of you, the artist side of you, that helps you that way?
Well, and also just, where I grew up, Guthrie made some interesting characters back in the day. I was telling Sheila how, like, when we were at Fogarty, I'd ride my bike down and lock it up. And after school, we carried our books, as you remember. 20 pound, 30 pounds worth of books in the back of our backpack. And I'd ride home, and you'd always avoid the streets where there was a little mess going on, where people were getting bullied or beat up, or, so I'd see people, and they were just not the right, people I wanted to be around, so I'd avoid that street. It was constantly dodging. You remember those days,
Yes.
Trying to, I guess the characters of Guthrie, they're full of colorful characters, good and bad.
Yeah.
It's a pendulum. They're both. But just, growing up in that area, I got to do a lot of adventuring because I grew up by Highland Park, and they had what they called the Honda Trails. Some people call them the haunted trails back then. And I would go ride my bike down there, and eventually I got a 3-wheeler, 73-wheeler, and ride down there. So I got to be a little heckin', or hellion, however you want to say it, and go down there and tear up the park. Got pulled over by the cops several times. And at the time, they didn't have anything on the books that was against the law to be riding an ATV in the park, and those cops wanted to take away my 3-wheeler, and use me as an example. But my dad, being the attorney, it's like, it's not on the books. You can't do anything. It's nothing. So they get a little mad. Of course they work with my dad, but eventually they passed the law and made it to where you can't be driving ATVs in Highland Park, because I was all over Highland Park back in the day. But just the experience of growing up in Guthrie pretty much, probably started me off to where I am today.
Yeah, gotcha. Now you can get, I think you can pay so many, like $100 or something like that. You can ride ATVs, get your license plate and all that stuff. I don't know if 3-wheelers would fall under that, but ATVs you definitely can ride through Guthrie now.
Yeah, that's quite a shock. Down here in New Braunfels, Texas, where I live now, they're driving these ATVs, golf carts all over the place. Back in the day, they didn't put up with that. They'd pull you over and haul you in, impound your vehicle. Yeah,
I think it's just becoming so common, and they're just a neat little way to get around, especially in smaller communities like Guthrie. It's just a neat little way to get around. But I guess you started something like you were before your time. That's what it was. You were before your time with those ATVs.
I guess so. What was his name? Shannon Gwynn. Do you remember Shannon Gwynn?
Yeah, I remember Shannon Gwynn. Yeah.
Yeah, I let him drive. I guess I had a 110 at the time, and I let him on that to ride that, and he hit a telephone pole and bent the axle back like that. The forks bent the front forks back, and my dad's like, "I told you not to let anybody ride it," and so all he did was get a chain and tie it up to something and pull it out with his vehicle, pull him out. It's no big deal. But yeah, everybody's coming over. I think the main deal is we didn't think about the potential on a 3-wheeler, especially, that could be deadly. And everybody's like, I can ride my 3. They ride on the back, get comfortable, and then they ride the 3-wheelers. We didn't have any sense back then. That's what I'm saying.
Now you don't even find kids out on, I remember when we were growing up, there would be hundreds of us on bikes. Like, you would just have all these people ride bikes and going through town. You don't see any of that now. It's really different.
Yeah, for sure.
Shannon Gwynn, talking about Shannon Gwynn, so did your brother break dance? Was he into the break dancing and stuff?
Yeah, he was big into break dancing.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So he was hanging out with Tim, even though he graduated closer to Anthony, but him and Tim and Shannon Gwynn, I remember he used to be breakdancing with them.
Oh yeah, all of them back in the day. I could think of a few more here, but they would come over.
Eddie Blue.
My brother built a platform in the back of our property, and then put carpet down on top of it, a little wooden platform, so they could come over. And then they put a mat. They had a linoleum mat, depending on what they were doing. Put a linoleum mat on so they could spin and do the windmill and everything. So they're always coming over and getting a little practice in. But I don't know if you remember or not. Doris Noble, Andre's mom, she did something for the youth, and they had the bicycle parades and stuff. Well, she would organize to where events to where we do breakdancing shows. And one year we did Michael Jackson. We did Beat It. We put on that show, and Thriller. Do you remember that? Weren't you a part of that?
What? No. Which park was that? Was it at the park?
We did this at the Best Western, and we did it somewhere else too. We put it on, and some little area at the Best Western. We put on the show, and they videoed it a long time ago. Of course, the videotape's probably long gone. But yeah, we danced to Beat It. We did the video Beat It, and then we did dance to Thriller. So yeah, Andre, all of them were there. My brother actually, and I can't remember who the other guy was, but they were the main guys with the knives and Beat It. You know how they tied up their hands there? So yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
They got to break dance, whatever breakdancing crew they came up with name, they got to break dancing. The Best Western back then.
Yeah, no, I remember your brother would come over to our house, and of course, like the thing that stood out for him was he was the white guy, and he would be with Tim and Teddy and all of these guys, and so he stood out to me at that time. But yeah, they thought they were super cool, man.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't break dance anymore. I still break dance. I'll make a fool of myself. I have no problem making a fool of myself. Hell, I might do it before it's over. Probably not. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty.
Well, that's good. What, tell me, so you, what were some of the schools that you remember and some of the things that stood out to you in Guthrie?
The schools?
Yeah, which schools do you remember the most?
Well, I started at St. Mary's, at Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I started there, and I got tired. They were very disciplined there, and my sister ruined it for me because my sister was all over the place. You can imagine getting into everything, and she's what 5.5 years older, so I guess sixth grade levels older. Well, Sister Michael, who remembered that my sister was all over the place, that was causing a ruckus. When I came along, she told me, she said, "Ruston, you're not going to be like your sister. I'm going to keep a tight eye on you." So I was right from the start. I was already intimidated. Plus, if anybody remembers Sister Michael, she was 6 foot tall. She was an intimidating figure, and she, played by the books, and she wasn't going to let anything past her. So, I got a little to the point to where my parents felt that I needed to be in a public school. So they pulled me out, I guess in the first part of 81, second grade is what we're in, and I went to Cotterill. So Mrs. Stephenson was my teacher at the time.
Who was?
Mrs. Stephenson.
Mrs.
Carrie's
Stephenson.
mom.
At Cotterill?
Yeah, Cotterill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came to Cotterill third grade or second?
Second grade.
Okay, second. And then who'd you have in third grade?
Miss Brown. I had Mrs. Stone, but she moved to a counselor position, and a new teacher to the school, to Cotterill, Mrs. Brown, came in, and she took over her position. So the Fogarty was great. I had wonderful memories at Fogarty too. So.
Wait a second. Was Miss Stone?
Chris's mom?
Chris's mom? Okay.
Yeah. She was going to be my teacher. Literally within the first month, she went to a counseling position and then opened that position up, and Mrs. Brown took over. But,
and so then you went over to Fogarty. Who did you have at Fogarty? Did you have Miss Washington with Hersey?
No, I didn't. Miss Copeland.
Miss Copeland.
I had in fourth grade. Miss Washington. No, I didn't have Miss Washington. But Miss Copeland, she was a first-year teacher. Actually, it's funny because in fourth grade, yeah, when we played football, Pee Wee, if you remember.
Yep.
I actually started out as quarterback. I was on the Raiders. And Calvin Sears was Johnny Sears, his son Johnny Sears was on the football team. He was our center, I think. And
where's Johnny Sears at? Have you talked to him?
I think he's in Houston.
He's okay.
Yeah, I talked to him from time to time on Facebook.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so Johnny Sears was our center, I think. This is how it turned out. I was going to be quarterback. First game, we played the Colts, and the Colts murdered us. And I was so I did not want to be quarterback. I was at the wrong position. I was supposed to be running back. So the next game we came back, we did really good. I came back as a running back. I just wasn't. And Johnny Sears moved to quarterback. I don't remember who was our center at that point. But we did really good until we played the Chargers, who you so happened to be on the Chargers. You remember? And you guys beat us twice. I was a little upset at that back then. But we ended up beating the Colts the second time we played them. So we thought we were formidable, but we couldn't beat y'all. And I thought you, for some reason, because you always hear helmet on, I thought you were Hersey. And I went to Hersey. I didn't know him at the time. I said, "Hey, man, do you play on the Chargers?" That's not me. And then later on, I bounced on to you. And said, "Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's Greg Coleman."
Yeah.
So that was the first time I actually talked to Hersey. I went up and said, "Man, don't you play on the team?" So you guys are good, man. You're good running backs. That's not me. Well, apparently it was Hetty. It was running all over us.
Yeah, so Hersey and I were in the same class actually in 4th grade, and so, but you and Hersey end up kind of living around the corner from each other, right?
Yeah, we lived on the Egg. We lived on Park Place. I think it's still called the Egg, right? They changed the numerical format of it. We were 17. I don't know what it is now. It's all different now. But yeah, he lived around the corner towards the top of the Egg, and he was actually, from what my dad told me, he was a blockbuster, which that's something that came from the civil rights movement, where people of color would move into predominantly white areas, and they would settle in to change up things, to shake up things, And that's
wow! I did not.
So
that makes sense because I don't think there was any other people of color living over there.
Nope. There wasn't.
Not that I can think of it at that time. And but who's 5th grade for you? Who's your 5th grade?
Oh man, I gotta go all the way. Who was it? Good, Mr. Good.
Oh, Mr. Good. Okay.
Mr. Good. I was like, yeah. So then Miss Hoig, 6th grade. I'm like, the 7th grade, of course. I'm not gonna remember all.
I can.
Yeah,
I can remember.
Miss Hoig, it was 6th grade, and then Mr. Good. Mr. Good was he was a good teacher, but I know we used to have to write 500 words. If we get in trouble, that was part of our payment, is we had to hand off 500 words. So anytime he would point at you, "Mr. Burst, that's 500 words." I'd pull out my drawer and I already had my 500 words done. "Here you go, Mr. Good." Start talking and cutting up again. Another 500 words. Pull out another 500. Because anytime we had spare time, we were writing these 500 words, You could only do like 10 consecutive sentences, then you had to change it up. By the time you got to the end of the 500 words, you're copying some of the sentences you began with again. He didn't care. But,
because I remember back in the day, you'd have to write sentences. Like they'd make you write. You got to write 1,000 sentences if you did something that you weren't supposed to or whatever.
That might have been why. Yeah, it was crazy. Anytime we had spare time and if things were going slow, you just start writing your sentences to have you kind of paying it forward for yourself. So.
Yeah. No, I remember those. I remember those days for sure. So 7th grade and 8th grade, I can't remember teachers very well. I mean, I remember Miss Kadavy. You remember Miss Kadavy? She was the English teacher, but I can't remember if she was 7th or 8th grade. But
yeah, I don't remember Miss Kadavy. I don't remember her. There were too many teachers back then to try.
Yeah,
usually I could, one or two. They'll come in my mind here and there. Start thinking about a moment. I do remember Mr. McNutt and Mr. Prince, the shop teachers.
Oh, the shop teachers, the welding and wood shop.
Yeah, welding and wood shop, and metal shop and wood shop. Had Brad Cordis and a few other colorful characters in there, and we're constantly getting in trouble. Of course, you say certain people. Brian Talaferro, he was in there.
Brian Talaferro, what in the world? Yeah. Did he graduate? He never moved. He graduated with us, I think.
I think he went to because Guthrie. Who did Guthrie play back in 1991 for the state championship game? That's who he went to that team, and they ended up winning the state. I can't think of it right now. I have to bookmark it.
So he did end up leaving.
Yeah, from what I remember. Of course, I'd already left, but I remember people saying. So I think whatever team won state, the 91 team, he was on that team. So he
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. Now, you played football. You were a diehard football player. I stopped playing like after 4th grade, and I didn't play again until my senior year. But you were pretty diehard.
I thought I was going to be a force to reckon with, but I was fast. I was really fast. I was a small guy though, and it hurt getting hit. I played all the way up till junior year in college. After I left Port Isabel, I scored an academic scholarship at Tarleton State in Stephenville, Texas. I played there 2 years. Then I transferred from Tarleton State to what used to be Southwest Texas. I didn't have a scholarship, but I had a walk-on promise. If I performed as a walk-on, then the coach said we'll go from there. I ended up getting an injury, and so I called it quits after that. But yeah, I played a few years in college. It was a great experience, but I still have injuries. If I could go back, hindsight's 2020. I probably wouldn't, even though I loved football, I probably wouldn't play it, after high school because it was more detrimental to my health. I still have, issues with, popping my neck and just shoulders being sore, and I know that's attributed to getting hit all the time because I was one of the lightest guys, and all those linebackers they loved to hit me because if they could catch me, if they caught me and they hit me, they could make a fool out of me. They could turn me upside down, but I was usually running around them.
What position did you play in college?
I started out as a nickel dime guy. Usually, when you come in as a freshman, they already have their backfield, right? So they'll kind of rotate you in. So anytime, and being one of the faster guys there at Tarleton State, they would put me in on pass plays and fourth down, third down, long yardage plays to cover the backs, the receivers. So I played somewhere between second and third string DB. So they'd move me around, primarily cornerback, but sometimes I play safety, just depending. After I transferred from Tarleton State to Southwest Texas, I thought I'd be a receiver. Now, I'd never actually been a receiver other than maybe like third string receiver, and I don't think I ever caught a pass receiver. For some reason, I thought I was going to become a receiver. That was not the wisest decision because I didn't really know how to take those hits. So I was delivering hits the best I could at weighing 175. 170 pounds, but it's different when you're taking the hit. So I like that.
Yeah, no, I remember so I played my senior year, and they were trying to play me on both sides of the ball. And I was like, I have no interest in playing offense at all. Like, just let me hit people. I don't want to get hit. I just want to hit people. And so because offense is a little bit different ball game, especially I can only imagine in college. Like, what were some of the bigger differences between high school and college for you?
Well, definitely the level of experience and quality of athlete. Because you made it through the first straining of whoever went through was ready to go to that second tier, second level. So it was a little harder to become a star on that field, that platform, because now all of a sudden you're looking at people that are your same speed, can hit like you or hit harder than you, that as strong as you, not stronger. So the level of playing was just it was harder, and that's what wears you down,
Yeah.
Trying to compete against athletes and some of these athletes were D1 quality, but they needed a couple of years at a smaller school to get that experience, on a collegiate level. But yeah, you had a lot of good athletes. We played a lot of junior JUCOs, so like Cisco Junior College and Ranger Junior College, and some of these athletes back time I can't remember all their names, but they should have had scholarships to D1 schools, but they had issues in the classroom, so they had to serve their 2 years out at junior college, and we would just get our butts whooped when we play these guys. And it shows. I wish there was some video of it out there. There may be, but they would just destroy us. Yeah.
How much weight did you gain going from high school to college?
What happened?
How much weight did you gain going from high school to college?
I was about 155 when I graduated high school, and I went to 165, 10 pounds. Okay. But I didn't lose any speed. I maybe gained speed. By the time I left, I stopped playing football. I was about 175, so that's why I was fast. But I was sometimes too fast for my own good. I would just it's uncontrollable. So start running and you kind of
running past tackles and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't stop on a dime and turn this way. I'd stop. My weight would take. I was a little sloppy, speedy sloppy, I guess. But yeah, it was.
Whenever you transitioned, did you finish college and then you transitioned where? What did you go to after college?
I went to 3 schools. I went to Tarleton. Then in between Tarleton, I went to Southmost College, University of Texas, Brownsville. I went there during the summer times. And then I went back to Southwest Texas. after I graduated from Southwest Texas, I moved in with my parents for the summertime. They lived in Raymondville, and I started painting. I have a degree in graphics design, and on the side I like to do studio painting. So I painted a whole bunch of studio artwork during that period of time. And soon after, I met my future wife, Sheila, at Southwest Texas. I actually met her when I was in school, but she was dating another guy. And after I graduated in the spring of '98, I came back through Southwest Texas, and which is San Marcos. I was actually heading up to a mini reunion. I think it was a 5 or 6 year mini reunion at Guthrie. I was going to go up there, so it would have been class of '92, class of '98, 6 year mini reunion. I stopped off, had a little layover in Southwest Texas in San Marcos, and I noticed Sheila went to a bar to go hang out, do some karaoke or something. And Sheila, the girl I had a crush on, who I ended up marrying, was not with her boyfriend at the time. So we started talking. And so soon after that, we moved in together. So that's kind of where it went. And then I had every job under the sun. I worked as a cook, I worked as a delivery driver, worked at a cement plant, worked at plastic processing. I've done a little bit of everything. Painting, all the construction type of stuff, I did that. Had my own mural business for a while, sign painting, craftsman painting. Me and my brother did craftsman painting. We painting service. So I was a teacher for a little bit too. I was an art teacher for a little while.
My goodness, you.
Yeah. Man, I don't know, man.
You covered the spectrum for sure.
Well, it's not like I wanted to, but I trying to find the money and trying to find I usually found the job that paid less. It was harder to do each time. Like, it seemed that way. Like, man, what's going on here?
But out of all those, so when I don't know if I knew that you were an artist when we were growing up. Like, when did you start getting involved with art? Was that something that you've always done?
Well, naturally, I was drawing and making things and doing things early on. My mom saw that, and she saw the direction that she wanted to push me in. She worked at the Guthrie Daily Leader. She got a job there in 1977. And, they used to do a lot. I don't know how big the papers are now, but they had these huge, they must have been, 3 foot long newsprint rolls, and they could only use them until they got close to the end. Then they had to take them off, and the end meant they might have still had 100 something feet left, but it wasn't worth, trying to run another press running and, then taking the roll off, the spool off. So they get a real big one on there, and they'd run it till it got down to the end. And my mom would take those home. She asked her boss, can I take these home? She said, sure. So she would bring them home. I still have some. I was going to try to show you one. And I'd roll them out, however many feet left, and I'd just start drawing, and I'd make a scene almost like a movie. And that was started in 1977 when she got that job. And then my mom saw that I had this desire to paint and draw and that creative spark. So early, I guess 1981 or somewhere, 82, she enrolled me in Fred Old's art class down there at the Guthrie Historical Museum. I don't know the exact title of it, but yeah, where he used to teach his art classes. Down there in the basement of it. You remember
Territorial Museum?
Yeah, that one.
Where Doris worked?
Where?
Doris?
Yeah, where she worked, that one. Yeah.
Yep.
And, that was 1981 or 82. Who else? There were a few other people that were, quite a few people after school would meet up there. We'd draw buffalo heads and, copy whatever. Of course, it being a Western artist, we'd sketch a lot of Western scenes. And I still have a painting my mom purchased from Fred Old's at a state sale or somewhere antique store a long time ago. But since she passed, I grabbed that. I have that painting. So I do have a piece of one of Fred Old's pieces. But yeah, it started early on for me. I was 4 or 5 when I started really getting into art.
And so did you just have seasons? You and I kind of talked about this earlier about my daughter. You just was in and out of art? Like when you graduated high school, I know you said that you ended up finishing college with a graphics arts degree. Graphics design, yeah. When you came out of high school, were you still drawing and really passionate about it, or did you kind of jump back into it in high school?
No,
college.
That's the point in time when I graduated high school. I had a girlfriend at the time that was a cheerleader, and I ran track, and and played football, and she was into sports. She was a long distance runner and track runner and did cheer. So we did all the sports things. And so art was for a couple years in high school. When I moved to Port Isabel, I was kind of done with art. At least I thought I was. Kind of got out of it. The season had ended, I guess. And then after I broke up with that girlfriend, and my mom was really pressing me to get back into art, because I started off with, I was going to get a degree in marketing and management. And my mom's like, you know what? You're such a talented artist. You really need to pursue that. So, all right, Mom. I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. So I got back into art. I guess I was about 19 or 20. I was about 20. So I changed my degree plan to art, and it took off from there. Then I started drawing and painting, and I think it was the first painting I completed was 1994. I tried to paint before, but I never could complete a painting. Like I said, I was kind of all over the place. But once I saw that I was pretty good at mixing the paints, and I had a pretty good idea of, depth perception, and all right, this is kind of fun, and I kind of stuck with it, and then went on to the next painting. I was trying to do realistic painting, but I just didn't have the skill at the time. I still don't know if I'm a realistic skillful painter, but I do like to paint scenic paintings, and I like to paint portraits. I like to challenge myself, but then sometimes I like to get out of that mode and just go free and just do something that there's no objective. Like I definitely like to paint things that you can't pull out features, you can't pull out distinct things that faces, or try to do a painting that has nothing that resembles anything And that's always, it doesn't matter what I paint, someone's going to see a well or a car. There's always something in it. I'm like, oh man. So that's the fun of it, trying to paint something that is very subjective.
That's cool. Yeah, so you finished your first art piece in 1994, like to complete it, meaning from start to finish. I never thought about like how often people don't finish their pieces.
It took me 2 months to finish this one. In between, I actually finished another painting too, because I'd get tired. I want to stick with it, but it was so frustrating because it was a Civil War painting. And it was, at that time I'm always into history. I was in the Civil War. And you had these Union soldiers coming up over the hill. And then there was a lonely rebel soldier sitting on a stump. And he knew his time was coming. And so he's wide-eyed. He's turned looking over his shoulder, look at these Union soldiers coming up over the hill, getting ready to get him. And, I think I used maybe a Mosin and Gaunt, which that gun wasn't invented till 1891. And the Civil War started in 1861. And then in 1865, so the gun reference is way off. I used some other. I had tin on. I used my grandfather's roof for this barn, and of course they didn't have tin back then. But I used my grandfather's barn, and he had tin on it, so I painted tin. And my dad schooled me on this. Well, they didn't have tin roofs back then. Well, it's a painting. I got an A on the project, so it's very misrepresented when it comes to the time. What was going on in the times, and what had been invented and what had not been invented. But it was a fun painting. I painted some paintings, I think a couple paintings in between. Like I said, that took me 2 months to do. Just the frustration of trying to find the skill to get things done, like drawing the barrel of a gun and making it look metal and kind of metallic feel, and but yeah, it takes a while. There's a lot of pieces that I put up. Some of them I started 30 years ago. Well, just about 95, 96, and still haven't touched them. I don't know what to do with them. Maybe someday I'll get back into that feel of that painting. If not, I'll paint over eventually, or they'll just that's how it'll be.
Are you telling me that you still have them? Like something you started 30 years ago, you still have the canvas or whatever?
Yeah, I still have quite a few. Just
wow,
indecisive on what the next move is. I actually sold a couple paintings real cheap. People happen to see them and they're like, hey, I love this. It's not complete. Oh, it isn't? I'll buy it anyway. So I gave them a good deal and just unload. That way I didn't have to rack my brain any longer trying to figure out what am I going to put in here to make this painting more interesting,
That is so wild. Like that's mind-blowing to me that you still have artwork that you haven't finished from 30 years ago, and you still there's potential of you coming back to it after however long to finish it out. That's really cool, actually.
Well,
That's,
maybe
that,
so. I just think it's a little irresponsible of me, maybe. But yeah,
I don't I don't know. It's art, right? And so, like, you can't finish a piece probably without you know, the vision, or sometimes it may be time or whatever. But I think that's what makes it unique and special to me. So,
well, I hate to say this, but I've worked going on 15 years now on my mom's second children's book. You know, she illustrated she wrote the first one in '93 and '94, and I started illustrating at '95. I illustrated at '95, summer '95, in between school, and '96. We finished it, and back then she wasn't very computer savvy. The internet was just really taking off. She didn't know how to use that, so she would send off her manuscript. She went to the library and she'd find all these publishing companies for children's books and whatnot. She didn't always hit the mark right. And she'd send off, this manuscript to all these places, and she got a lot of denial letters, thank you for your submission, but we're into adult publishing or something like that. So, she just didn't understand how to do it. We didn't get that book published actually until 2008 or 9. We went to a publishing company that would publish it for you, and then of course you get some of the royalties. But they're really kind of a scam deal. My parents ended up buying the royalties back and starting their own publishing company called Garland Publishing. And then we ended up publishing her book through the second publishing through Garland Publishing, which this other book that I worked on for 14, 15 years should be done next year. But, we're parents, first and foremost. We're family men. We have to supply all the, everything for a family. And, whether it's being a coach, a teacher, a den leader, helping your kids with school, and of course just doing the family stuff, and I love all that stuff. I wouldn't change it for the world. But unfortunately, because I have to have a job, and I sometimes have a second job, which is sign painting or doing murals, that supersedes, this book. So I always, whatever little energy I have at the end of the day or at the end of whenever, then I'll focus that energy on this book. But yeah, it's taken me 14 years, and hopefully when it comes out, it'll get noticed. But if not, I'm okay, man. I'll move on to the next project and spend another however many years or however long I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we got a segment called Either Or, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you two things, and you can tell me which one.
All right.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Is that any time during the day? Is it something you do every day, or is that tea right there? Is that sweet tea?
Nope. It's in my Conoco cup. It's backwards now, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a tea drinker. I drink coffee in the morning. I don't have to have coffee, but I have to have some caffeine. I try to give up the sugars, though, so no sweet tea if I can help it. And every now and then a Dr. Pepper, but tea is the answer.
Got you. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Are you staying up way too late and can't get up in the morning, or you manage it well?
I manage it. I mean, I'll stay up sometimes till 1, 2 in the morning doing projects, then wake up at 6:30 or 7 and head to work and kind of drag a little bit, have my coffee and my tea, just, bust out the tea and drink that all day and try to keep me going until I get to the point where I'm tired of tea and just drink water. But yeah,
gotcha.
I'll make it to work, but I'd rather sleep in if I could.
Yeah. Beach vacation or mountain retreat?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Well, we always go to the beach, so I'd say mountain retreat because I live in Texas, close to the beach.
Gotcha. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Do you have a dog now?
Yeah, we have a dog, sweet little Minnie. She's a long-haired Chihuahua, and she looks kind of like a deer. It looks like she's a cute little dog. Then we have this other dog. What's that dog's name you just got, Sheila? Well, we have another dog she just brought onto the scene. Sophie, yeah. And so we have a Christmas puppy, apparently, which I really wasn't in favor of that because that's more poop to scoop. Everybody always says, I'll feed the dog. I'll scoop the poop. I'll clean. It always falls on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Ultimately, ends up waking up in the morning, and there it is. It's like, I can't just leave that pile of poo on the ground, so I'm going to have to scoop it up and,
Hey, animals are work, man.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, Netflix binge or read a book?
I would rather read a book. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't do a
Okay.
lot of reading, but I read a lot of passages, and I read a lot of like comic books, and I read a lot of excerpts and stuff from because I don't have time. So if I find something interesting, I'll read a section and cover what I need, and then I'll be on my way.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
City life or countryside?
Oh man, there you go. We got one foot in both, but I'd rather be country if I could.
Are you rather go countryside?
Yeah, for sure.
Introvert or extrovert?
I'm gonna be more extrovert, but I'd rather be more introvert. But because of my personality, people always want to like talk or get to know me or whatever. And being an artist, you kind of have to be ultimately a little extroverted so people get to know you, and maybe your art will sell and kind of get your name out there.
But then you got to be introverted to get the art done, huh? You got to.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the introverts, a lot of times, just them being introverted and different, people it draws people to them. Like, wonder what makes them work. So, I'll tell you what makes me work: coffee and tea.
Winter or summer?
Winter.
Oh, really? Huh?
Yeah.
Classic rock or pop music?
Classic rock. Still.
Physical book or ebook? You probably not doing like you.
No, I would rather read something physical, tangible you can hold. And my eyes are getting worse now. I blame the computer.
You don't blame it on your age. You blame it on the computer.
No, it's got to be the computer.
Calling or texting?
Well, I'd rather call, but I've been told now that that's not what you do. You're supposed to text. So I've been told to text by everybody. Hey, man, you're supposed to text first. So text.
Who told you that?
A lot of my younger friends, I'm 51, so my friends in their 30s, maybe lower 40s. Like, that's not how we do things now. This isn't the 1980s, Pops. You need to text us and let us know you're going to call.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Huh?
You get that, too. Like, just text me.
Well, I mean, I know that's the way that we go now, but I don't know if I've ever had somebody just tell me straight up, like, bro, there's no more calling. You only text me now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I had anybody tell me. That's pretty funny though. Cooking at home or dining out?
I've gotten to the point to where I'd rather cook myself at home, but I do like dining out. But I'd rather dine out. I just wish it were cheaper. So cooking at home.
Who's the better cook?
Sheila has become quite a cook, I would say. I like to bake things. I just discovered broiling. Here at about age of 49 or 50, came across broiling. Like, hey, this is kind of neat, where you could put some noodles or pasta in the oven, put a little cheese on it, cook it at the last second, put a little olive oil on top of that cheese, sprinkle it with a little Parmesan, and broil it for about 4 or 5 minutes, and it gets that light, nice, kind of golden coat to it, and little burned edges here and there. So I discovered broiling, but she's a better cook overall. I'll definitely give.
I was about to say, are you going to tell me the answer? You didn't want to. Is she sitting there or something? You don't want to say it in front of her.
Yeah, she's sitting there. She's listening. And she gets tired of my broiling because now I discovered, hey, if you want to make it taste like restaurant quality, just broil it last second.
Broil it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why you talking to that broiling makes me feel like an old person. Like, who broils?
I don't know. Turn 50, I start broiling. I guess that's the part we start to do it. Yeah.
That's good. Adventure or relaxation?
Adventure, always. I'm an adventurous soul.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Sneaker or dress shoes?
Sneakers.
Action movies or comedies if you watch them?
Yeah, neither. Probably action. I just don't have time, Greg, on my busy schedule. I just don't watch movies. I watch holiday specials. That's about it. We watch a holiday special here or there. I rarely go out and watch movies. I wish I could. So, but last movie I went to see was Garfield with my daughter and her friends. It was about 4 months ago or whatever at the big screen. But maybe once a year, once every other year, I go to the big screen. They have a drive-in theater here, and you know, and a few other theaters. But at home, I
Yeah.
just don't watch. The kids are always watching movies, and it keeps me like, yeah, I'll let them watch their movies, and I'll go do some art or, write a song. I play music. I'm an artist, so I try to spread myself thin in all the art fields, and I do that for sure.
Yeah. Historical fiction or sci-fi?
Historical. Yeah.
You want history, okay?
Yeah. You mean nonfiction?
Yeah, historical fiction or art? Yeah, nonfiction.
Nonfiction, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What kind of music you like? You playing the guitar, piano, singing? What are you doing?
I started off on the keyboard. My mom got me keyboard back in junior, sophomore year, and I thought I was going to be this really awesome keyboard player, which I never really formed into that to a great keyboard player. But yeah, I started off on keyboards. I switched to bass, play the harmonica, and I sing. I think I'm a better singer than what I am. So, but I still sing.
Sheila can tell us if you're a better singer. Like, what does she think?
Staying out of that
She's
one.
staying out. Yes. Safe. She's safe. Playing it safe. Yeah. I sing way too much.
You sing way too.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. She's like, no thoughts, no thoughts. Okay, what's something that you're super into right now?
Well, it's kind of an offbeat thing to be into, I guess. But of course, music and art and sports, all that I've always enjoyed. But somehow or another, I started just through my collecting things. I started collecting photographs and going to these thrift stores and antique malls. And I got into collecting photographs that had information on the back of them. And then I would come home. This is about 6 or 7 years ago I started doing this. And I would look up to see if I could find the family or any relation to this photograph online. And more often than not, I wasn't finding family members on Facebook, but I was finding grave finders or findagrave.com. I made an account in 2018 on Find a Grave, and these pictures of these people that I started finding, I'd start finding their grave headstone markers on Find a Grave, and then I'd publish it and put it on there. And so I've done quite a few, and I've enjoyed that. So collecting photographs is something that I wouldn't have thought that I would have gotten into, but I enjoy that. It gives you like purpose when you can find someone, you put a face with the headstone on Find a Grave. Not just that, I found several pictures and books of pictures that I actually found the relatives to, the most recent relatives of the deceased, and I sent off, that whatever it was, pictures or the whole, picture book. So yeah, I like to collect pictures. And I've been into that for a little bit, but I'm really into that.
That's cool. Yeah. So do you try to get the pictures to the families if you find them?
Yeah. I've done that just recently. I'm not going to mention their name.
Yeah.
Her name's Laura. I connected with her. My mom actually had picked up a book from an auction or estate sale back in the late 70s or early 80s. It was full of all these pictures, all these beautiful pictures of Guthrie. I also I started the Guthrie and Logan County, Oklahoma historic site. I don't know if you remember that. And
yeah, I
it's a
remember that
Facebook group. I started that in, I guess, about 6 years ago. Mike Pearson, he also is an admin on. My sister's too. She doesn't do much. He's an admin on there. Well, those pictures I'm talking about from Guthrie from about 1910 to 1915, they were all of Laura's family. And she actually saw one of the pictures I posted, and she said, "That's my grandmother." So I just recently got those back to her, a whole stack of probably close to 100, if not, pictures and photo book.
That's pretty cool. That is really cool. I was going to ask you this earlier. Which one did you love most, art or sports?
I started off loving art first because of just the way things worked out. My mom and dad tried to put me in soccer. Soccer didn't work out. The ball would be coming at me, and I would run at the ball, and I'd jump over it, and I'd roll and do a somersault, and like I was being judged by a panel, like how good of a somersault that I did. I didn't have my head in it. So I played soccer about 3 seasons. I did not do good. Then one time we were walking downtown, my dad and I were, and we walked by a little flyer poster that said Pee Wee football on it. Registrations start open now. And said, "You want to play football?" "Yeah, Dad." So we went down, signed me up, and I made it to the Raiders. It's my first team, 1982, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of in and out. I liked art first, but then football took over, and then went back to art. Kind of back and forth. So still love sports, but I'm an artist as far as that's what I feel like first and foremost, and everything else comes after that.
Got you. Are your kids artists or are sports people?
Both. My oldest son, he's a musician. My middle son, he's a football player, now a wrestler. My daughter, she likes art, but she's into tennis, so she's a tennis player. So yeah, kind of down the middle, I guess. My oldest son really doesn't care for sports.
You said what?
My oldest son, we put him in basketball and soccer. He didn't gravitate towards sports. He's a tall kid, 6'3", 6'4", could have played some basketball, but he really liked music, so he started. I guess we got him a guitar in Christmas 2018 or a drum set, and he's been in a few bands already, so some punk rock, grunge, and Americana, and kind of different styles.
He's a little bit everywhere.
Yeah,
that's cool. What were some of the things that you missed most about Guthrie? Like whenever you had to leave, like what were some things that you was like, man, I really miss Guthrie in this way when you left?
Well, I definitely missed my friends. That was a hard move. I missed my family, my grandparents and my great aunts, and everybody actually started. I mean, I hate the term, but they started dying off after we moved. It was almost significant. Seems like for some reason in my mind, seems like they would have stayed around longer. My grandmother died a couple years later. My great aunts, Aunt Minnie and Emma, they died 90, 91, like right after we moved. We moved in 90. As far as the cuisine, I mean, like I guess with the territorial house burned, a lot of the stuff that I liked either burned down, changed. Del Rancho, right? They didn't have that. That's changed. I mean, the little quaint Walmart we used to have, and now it's across the street. Everything kind of changed. So I just miss Oklahoma. I miss the weather. I missed when it would snow, and we would tie sleds up to the back of my dad's truck, and we'd go sledding behind the truck, go around Highland Park. And it didn't matter. We go all over Guthrie, honestly. The cops didn't care when it snowed. They just kind of turned them.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
We do that. Snowball, snowmen. You have snowball fights. But definitely my friends. That was hard.
We were talking today about how when we were growing up, there was always snow on Christmas. Like the chances of there not being snow were less likely, and now it's like, can we please get snow on Christmas here in Oklahoma? Like it just doesn't happen as much anymore. Like this past Christmas, you could have been outside in shorts, and it'd been okay.
It's real hot today. And just Oklahoma had a lot of sand dunes. We used to ride 3-wheelers, like I said. We'd go to Little Sarah State Park. Plus, we also used to go snow skiing. And in Oklahoma, Guthrie's a lot closer to Colorado than where I live now, about 8 more hour drive. So after we moved away from Guthrie, we didn't go snow skiing hardly ever after that. Kind of ended that. So just the location of where Guthrie was, it gave us the ability to do a lot more things within that vicinity from Guthrie on outward. And not to say there's a lot to do in Texas, but we got the beach here. I didn't get to experience the ocean until I moved to Texas.
Gotcha. Yeah. This is off subject here, but the 8-track behind you. Do you have any 8-tracks? Does that work?
From last time I used it, it worked. I do have an 8-track. Let me show you. See what I got over here. I don't know. 8-tracks are hard to come by now. So got Dolly Parton.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton.
Eddie Rabbit. Yeah. And Charlie Rich.
It's Charlie Rich.
Yeah. There's a few more over there, but I just came across these recently. Because I'm a picker, a collector. When I find something of value that I think I can turn around and flip, I'll pick it up. But I don't know if these are going to resell or not. I'd probably eventually just donate them. If I hold on to something long enough and I find where it needs to go. So sometimes I'm just like the caretaker of things until I find where they need to go. And really, honestly, it doesn't matter the value if it goes to the right person and it's meant to be. You know.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I do.
What does 8-track sound like? Is the sound of an 8-track, like there's a certain sound with the vinyl, the certain sound with the tape. I haven't heard an 8-track in forever. What is the feel of an 8-track like? What does it sound like?
Man,
is it more crisp?
See if this thing works. It sounds real wavy.
Okay.
Because the film, the tape is so old a lot of times, it's not going to be as crisp. It always kind of sound wavy, but if it gets off a little bit on the when it's going through the reel, it's going through the system, it'll sound a little more wavy kind of sound,
Gotcha.
Not as clear. Sometimes it'll pop in, it'll be a little louder, stronger sound, and it kind of pulls back. It's just, and a lot of that's just wear and tear and just age, kind of like us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you most grateful for right now?
Right now, my family, definitely my family. I'm most grateful for my family and friends. And I think in the past, I was most grateful for family and friends. And when you move to that next level, the friends you have around you and the family you have around you, you still need to be grateful for what you still have. And the family and friends that constantly, believe it or not, keep you in line. If I didn't have the people in my life that I have now, where would I be, that support me.
That's good. What are some ways that you give back to your community where you live at now?
Well, where I live at now, probably we donate a lot of stuff. But I would like to think, I've been painting some local historical buildings and some areas around, not just here in New Braunfels, but Seguin. I work the post office in Seguin, which is right next door to our town. But I want to do more of that and paint more scenic paintings from around here to kind of preserve the preservation of painting and art locally, not just throwing paint on canvas and doing abstracts, but actually capturing the moment, whether it's early in the morning scene or late in the evening, but just capturing the moment of my angle where I set up that angle, the easel, start painting. So probably more so just leaving art behind and representational of New Braunfels and different areas of New Braunfels is probably what I can do the most to give back right now. We do give in other ways, what we can to funds and stuff. And anytime there's an issue with someone that has a GoFundMe or fundraiser, we do what we can. We go to a lot of fundraisers here in New Braunfels, especially people that have been injured or hurt or have lost a loved one. But you find that just like in Guthrie, a lot of people come together for those events to help out because they totally understand. We can relate to them. And,
Yeah. Well, that's so good, man. Hey, is there anything that I missed out that you wanted to mention about your time in Guthrie, or a shout out to any old friends?
If I start shouting out old friends, it's gonna be a whole bunch of them. But
you're gonna get in trouble.
I know. Well, you didn't mention my name, so down the list, hey man, you mentioned so and so. So I'm probably gonna do shout out. But I will say, as far as Guthrie, Oklahoma goes, and how I get back to Guthrie, I think would be through the Guthrie and Logan County, Oklahoma historical site for preservation too. And I try to draw a lot of people in, and I would like for a lot of people to post and put their own family, memories and whatever they have, whether it's pictures or if it's just writing, if it's documentation, to try to keep it alive. Eventually, I would like for it to be easier to find and locate different subjects that are on there. And I know hopefully Facebook comes out with a better template or format to where you can do that. Because right now, sometimes if you type in a name, it gets too convoluted to try to find certain things. Like if you type in, Ruston Burst, and you see all kinds of things that I commented on, but Ruston Burst post or whatever. But I really want, like say if you're looking up the history of Fogarty, from what I know, that's where the old high school used to be, and a tornado came in and did it, I guess, in the 20s, and then they built Fogarty in place of that. So I did post a picture of the whole high school at some point in time on that page, on that group of the high school after it just gotten hit, and there's telephone poles down and everything, and it was, I guess, like I said, it's in the 20s. So if someone wanted to do research on that, they could go find that picture, for as far as research goes, and they could copy it, and all kinds of other things. So the preservation of that, but also I'm trying to get more people involved with the elbow. I know they've been doing a project on the elbow, but the elbow is such a great piece of history that most people know nothing about. And I really wish that would come to the forefront and more people would take interest and talk about that. I know sometimes there seems to be a little hard feelings over that because of the situation, because it was in the flood. My cat just came up here. Because it's in a floodplain, and a lot of the citizens had got bought out. The property got bought out, and they didn't want to move, obviously. And I think that's a shame, But I know if anybody's interested, there's a group on Facebook that's ran by Jerry Bullock. It's a history of the south quarter of West Guthrie, Oklahoma, a.k.a. the Elbow. So if anybody's interested in getting on there, if you want to share information or insight on the Elbow or the Guthrie and Logan County Historical Site, you're welcome to get on there. I know you have to be a member of the Guthrie and Logan County Historical Site. All you got to do is just click on, and we'll accept you unless unless you're just trash. I mean, like if you're just something that's floating through that shouldn't be on there, because there's a lot of that we have to constantly go through and filter, because there's a lot of advertising and stuff, and it really kind of congests the system too. But so we have some good admin and people that take care of that and get that taken care of. But I want to do that, shout that out. And one more thing, I wanted to give the story before I go about how the burst, the original family, the original clan made it to Guthrie. My great grandparents came over from Baden-Baden, Germany. They came up through New Orleans in 1869. I think my great-great-grandmother died there. She got sick. She was carrying, and I don't know, we don't have the information on it if it's a miscarriage, but she was buried with her child. And at this point, my great-great-grandfather went up to Missouri and settled up there at St. Louis. And he, at the time, didn't have the means of raising the kids, so I guess he had sold off all of his kids to become indentured servants and to work for established farms. And I know most people probably know what that is, but if you don't, it's a form of where someone who has a farm or has money can basically take care of someone and train, kind of, mentor a person up into adulthood and give them the wherewithal and the know-it-all of how to do these jobs, whatever it may be, if it's a dairy farm or whatever. So my great-grandfather did that till he was 18. Then they give like money and land. After when you turn 18, the person who took them in, they sign a contract. They give them so much, whatever, like a dowry chest, so to speak, of all this stuff. Well, my grandfather cashed in his and came down to Guthrie in 1891, a couple years after the first land run. He had a friend, a veteran of war, I don't remember which war, that came down and was in the land run of 1889 and had a spot of land, and it was in the northeast corner of Guthrie. And so he said, I got plenty of land, come on down here, you can have your section. So my great-great-grandfather came down, made the trek down here, came by train, and whenever they got here in Guthrie, they actually took about, to process, a week to a week and a half to process everything. Because they came down with a buckboard, you can imagine, with all the chest and all the barrels and the implements, farm implements, the animals. So they had a lot of flatbed cars and cars that were just loaded up with all these people's stuff. So they came into Guthrie, they were processed, took about a week plus or so to do it. In the meantime, my family actually went out to where Warner and Cypher Street is. There's a spring over there, and that's where they camped out for a week and a half until they got all their belongings, and they headed out to basically where Highland Park is in that area. They headed out to this little section of land that they were offered, and they farmed there. That's where it all begun for the burst. My great grandfather did try to. I think there was five land runs, maybe 6. He did try to get another land run of 1892 or 1893, and he did it. And afterwards, the local state government sent him a letter. It said you can't have land in 2 spots that were gifted you. And so he had this one section of land in Guthrie, and this other land, I don't remember, it was in another town, another adjacent county or something like that. So he had to give that one up. He decided to keep the land he had. But eventually they sold that, and they moved closer and closer until they got to town. They eventually made their way to 311 North Drexel, and that's where they lived for the longest time until my great-grandfather passed away.
Oh, what? Where's North Drexel? Is that before Highland Park?
Yeah, that's the street that leads you right up. It's literally right before Highland Park. It's a street that leads you into Highland.
Yeah, it is the street that leads you in. I was trying to think of 300 block. Where's that?
Yeah, the northern 300 block. And it's not too far away from whenever they came into town 20-plus years earlier, and they were camping out there, like I said, on Cypress.
Yeah, Warner and Cypress,
yeah, right there. So, and maybe he just loved that area from the moment they got there. Maybe he decided, eventually I'm going to build a home close by this area, and he did. I think they built it in 1911. Like we got here in 1891. My great-grandfather built that in 1911, so 20 years later, they made it into town close to that same spot.
That's cool. That's cool. Had you always been into like knowing the history of your family or history of people in general, or did that come whenever you started collecting the pictures too?
I think it's always been in me. It's just okay. Kind of somewhat of a historian, and I like to try to keep it as exact as possible. And I don't want to get to the point where my dad was. My dad was probably the best storyteller. Especially he liked the history. He liked to tell stories that were true, not the storytelling that's fabricated. So he tried to tell it as truthful as he could. And as he got a little older, he'd start stumbling on the names. And my mom would get so excited about it. We don't care if it's George, Tom, Dick, or Harry. Just tell the story, R.O.
Yeah.
my mom's nickname for my dad, Richard Otto. So she called him R.O. But
I
don't want to get that way. So sometimes I just, I'll leave out the people's names if telling
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the names are harder to remember, but the story you can tell for sure,
I got it from my dad more than likely. He was a storyteller, and he had a lot of great stories. And a lot of these stories that I can share, and I share on Facebook, they come down from my dad or my grandfather or someone. I just, I remembered. I have a great memory for remembering that type of stuff,
Yeah.
When it comes to yesterday, sometimes I can't remember, what I ate. But long-term memory works pretty good.
It's good. Yeah. You have to have some kind of memory. Delivering mail, you got to have some type of memory, I would imagine. Oh,
man, people get mad if you put in someone else's mail, a piece of their mail in their mailbox, man. And they'll call up on you and say, he's misdelivering mail every day. Like, well, no. I mean, and I told my wife the other day, it's like, I don't really like delivering mail. I do it because I need a job, and actually I don't even consider it a job. I consider it my workout. I consider all my artistic endeavors and my publishing company, that's my real job, but that's not paying the bills, so I have to have respect for the post office. But just as anything else, whether you like the job or not, you do your best. I don't want to, if someone has a check coming in, they're relying upon that to misdeliver that check or medication.
For sure.
Super important to me, so I do take pride in that aspect of it. But yeah, people get mad at the littlest of things, and more often than not, they'll figure it out because I do my record of delivery mail is pretty good. I hardly ever misdeliver because usually someone will open a case on you if something gets misdelivered, and then at the end of the case, if it gets settled, they write down how it got settled, and most of the time it's either, oh, my husband grabbed the mail and forgot to tell me he had the package in the car, and I thought that you just didn't put it in the box, one of those deals, or it's the post office itself, because as you know, the government is messed up, and half the time they're having me run around trying to find stuff I didn't even have. I don't even have this package. Oh, never mind, it's our bad. Of course it is. I'd rather be their bad than my bad.
For sure. Well, that's good, man. Well, Ruston, thank you for your time, man.
I enjoyed it, man. This is good. Thank you. I appreciate it, Greg.
This is good. I love doing it. I love, typically you probably go hours or whatever talking to people and catching up and listening to all the stories, but I'm grateful for the 45 to 60 minutes that people give me and my wife let me have to do these kind of things, and so But I love it. I love when I get to bump into people in Walmart and they say, man, I never knew that about Ruston, or, it was cool to see Ruston, or so-and-so. I hadn't seen them in a long time. And so it's really a cool thing to be able to do.
Man, I really appreciate what you're doing, too. I want to let you know that, because I think a lot of people that you're giving a voice to wouldn't have that opportunity. And it makes it special to, especially Guthrians, to be able to have this, because I know you're documenting it and down the line.
Yeah.
Just to say that, once again, if people need to know a little bit about what went down and how things were, well, then come back, check out these videos. So the preservation you're doing is awesome. I did want to show you this. This is the time I met you right here.
Oh yeah, I saw the picture too.
Burst or bust. Yeah, burst or bust. My dad was running for House of Representatives, 31st District back in 1978, and Doris Noble, and your mom and your grandmother, I guess your grandmother, were helping out at the time, helping the cause. And that's when I met you. And we would go around, and I think, I'm pretty certain it was you and some other kid would go around. We'd knock on doors and hang flyers and vote for my dad. And we'd go on one side of the street, and the adults would be on the other side. We're running back and forth, getting more flyers. It was 1978, so we've known each other since at least 78. So long.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time, for sure.
46
it's been a long time.
Yeah, 46 years. I know we don't look that old. We look, 35?
That's right. We don't look. Definitely you don't. So, well, thank you so much. Tell your family I said hello. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the GuthrieAmerica podcast. We are on a mission to have every story told of the fabulous people who do life here in GuthrieAmerica and who are from here. The question that I love to always end with is, will yours be next?